On behalf of Zion Episcopal Church and our planning committee, I would like to welcome you to our community dialogue with civil rights leader Dr. Doris Starks and Ms. Ruby Sales. We are so glad that you are here with us. This evening's conversation was inspired by a question our church members asked ourselves as we plan to celebrate Zion's 200th anniversary. How can we use this time of our church's anniversary to benefit our community? How can we work to bring the kingdom of God to fruition? We considered some of the problems facing our nation and the world, and we asked ourselves, how can we begin to address them? We recognize that we have been blessed with a treasure in our parishioner, Dr. Doris Starks, and her vision of scripture. And her passion for the legacy of Jonathan Daniels inspired us to consider how to honor a historic legacy and also to look toward the future. The headlines of the past several months certainly confirm that our hearts were focused correctly as we pondered how to address the problem of racism. Inspired by this vision, we asked Ms. Ruby Sales to speak from her experience about how we can begin to build a just society where no one is denied respect or put into physical danger because of race, poverty, or other superficial characteristics. The question for this evening's talk is, will you strive for justice and peace and respect the dignity of every human being? This is our theme. The question itself is one which which reminds us of the promise made during the sacrament of holy baptism. It begs us to consider that if indeed we are each made in the image of God and are members one another of the family of God, how should we love one another? How do we recognize the image of God in our neighbors? My hope is that this evening you will ask this question of yourselves as individuals, and we might ponder the questions raised this evening as a community. Because this evening's program is designed for all members of our community, the planning committee, which designed today's events, was made up of members of Jefferson County, individuals representing a variety of churches, races, and organizations, all of whom share a vested interest and passion in furthering race relations within our community. It's on their behalf that I welcome you to this evening's program. Let us pray. Oh God, you made us in your own image and redeemed us through Jesus, your Son. Look with compassion on the whole human family. Take away the arrogance and hatred which infect our hearts. Break down the walls that separate us. Unite us in bonds of love and work through our struggle and confusion to accomplish your purposes on earth, that in your good time all nations and races may serve you in harmony around your heavenly throne. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Amen.
Good evening. My name is Ann Vanessa, and it's my pleasure to introduce our musical guest on behalf of Zion Episcopal Church. Elder Kevin Carr is a baritone, preacher, actor, choir director, educator, and motivational speaker. He is a frequent church soloist and recitalist throughout the Baltimore area and surrounding regions. He is a former member of the renowned Morgan State University Choir and has traveled with the choir throughout the country. He traveled to Seoul, Korea in 1999 and 2000 with the Coppin State University Concert Choir and was featured as one of the soloists. Mr. Carr has also performed in the East Room of the White House with the Coppin State University Choir. Please join me in welcoming Elder Kevin Carr.
Go out and tell the story, let it echo far and wide. Make them hear you, make them hear you. How justice was our battle, and how justice was denied. Make them hear you, make them hear you. And say to those who blamed us for the way we chose to fight, that sometime there are battles
to that end, let me just say this. Obviously, Jefferson County and Charlestown in particular are blessed with a really rich and powerful African American heritage and history dating back to before even West Virginia was a state. And as we know, sometimes that was a dark time, tumultuous times, harrowing and humbling. But the amazing history is really shaped by the people involved in that struggle and by the history here, the people that helped pave the roads that lead us here tonight. Our first guest is one such person, a woman who certainly faced more than her fair share of trials, both literally and figuratively. She graduated from the Tuskegee Institute High School at the age of just 15, went on to graduate from Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University, in 1958 with honors, joining her great-grandfather as an alumni of Tuskegee Institute, which is amazing. During her time in college, in addition to obviously excelling in school, our next guest was involved with the Tuskegee Civic Association's work in the voting rights movement. And as a part of those efforts, she was one of a number of plaintiffs in a landmark legal case, the United States versus the state of Alabama, Macon County and Board of Registrars, which actually helped pave the way for the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So thank you. Since that time, she's received numerous advanced degrees in the field of nursing, her chosen career, including obtaining her doctorate, and has held a number of teaching positions at places such as Tuskegee, most recently serving as the Dean and Professor of Nursing at Coppin State University in Baltimore. She's quite a decorated individual, as observed if you look at her bio and the program you'll see, including being inducted into the Tuskegee University School of Nursing Hall of Fame in 1992. She's the published author of a number of peer-reviewed articles in her chosen field, and she's also published a number of short stories, including The Call and The Last Days of John Brown the Abolitionist, which I'll happily and shamelessly plug and say you can purchase on Amazon. She is a proud member and contributor of our sponsoring host at Zion Episcopal Church. She continues to be committed to preserving and protecting the voting rights she first fought for more than 50 years ago. With that, it's my great honor and privilege to introduce, and please join me in welcoming Dr. Doris Starks.
Good evening. Good evening. And thank you, Mr. Workman, for that special introduction. At this stage in my life, in the African tradition, one could say that I have become the village guru. That is, I am the keeper of historical memories, and I tell stories. So this evening, I would like to share with you some reflections that will help some of you remember and inform others of how things were during the Civil Rights era. Hopefully, these reflections will set the stage for the presentation by our special guest, Ms. Ruby Sales. After slavery, African Americans struggled to reunite their families and in some instances form new ones when original families could not be reunited. The primary intent of African Americans was to survive in a hostile environment. During the Reconstruction era, there was initially some hope for people of African descent to become citizens of the country, but that did not last for very long. Most white persons were not eager to share power with their former enslaved neighbors. Most African Americans lived in poverty, and it was a constant challenge to meet their basic human needs. As time passed, laws were enacted to suppress the African American vote. Further, there were frequent lynchings and other acts of violence against African Americans, which would intimidate them and keep them from becoming full-fledged citizens. Although the 14th Amendment to the Constitution had been designed to give African Americans certain protections, the Plessy versus Ferguson case in 1896 upheld the state of Louisiana's position that separate but equal accommodations were just and appropriate to prevent the mingling of races. This ruling basically took away many protections from African Americans. Since African Americans were unable to vote, there was no way for them to change their living conditions or to shape public policy on matters that affected their everyday lives. In 1908, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People was formed to try and bring legal aid to African Americans through courts. And their efforts resulted in many landmark cases, such as ending segregation in schools. But there were still so very many unmet needs. In the Depression, Black persons whose living conditions were already poor suffered even more. Even since the Depression, there have been continuing